before. Retainer of semen and lifter of weights. He is wild, hairy, dominant, breathing into his balls and bonding with his bros. And more than anything, he charges you monthly for his content. Welcome to Manclan.
We are your alpha hosts and paragons of masculinity,
Cat Tebaldi
and Julian Field. So, Cat, first of all, obviously you've replaced Annie, and you were among, millions of applicants. And I guess in the end, she did what good Catholics do, which is she named you based on your God-given right. So the royalty of Annie is passing on. And could you tell us a bit about your background and your work?
This is actually not the first time I've applied for a job that Annie actually got. I'm a postdoctoral researcher in linguistic anthropology at the University of Luxembourg, where I look at gender, language, and the digital far right. I've also been on about 496 Tinder dates, so I'm somewhat of an expert in bad men.
Well, yeah, glad to have you with me so we can treat our Sigma guest this week, David Farrier, with the lack of respect that two alphas like you and I, Kat, have summoned up for him. But yeah, David, thanks so much for joining us. This is David Farrier. He's the filmmaker behind Tickled and the upcoming Mr. Organ. He also has a newsletter called Webworm and a podcast called Flightless Bird. So yeah, David, how are you? How is your testosterone today?
Look, I got to be honest, it's feeling low, and being around you two, I just feel intimidated, scared, and so I'm just going to be working myself up over the next couple of minutes to your level.
Since the launch of Manclan, we've been inundated with membership applications. As alphas, of course, we want you to believe you're already a member of our elite group, but also keep you insecure enough that you stay paying for our content. To figure out what to do about this outpouring of interest, we've sent Annie on a sort of religious pilgrimage to the Dagda, or as she calls it, my honeymoon. And in the meantime, back at Manclan HQ, Kat and I have been drafted into a sort of holiday telethon, which we're going to use to squeeze money from the rubes. And, obviously David was interested in joining this since he's been exploiting people as well online.
That's all they do.
As many know, testimonials are the lifeblood of the manliest marketing. And so we thought we'd share with you some of the many endorsements of the Manclan that we've received from those who've either drunk too deep from the chalice or watched those around them do so. The first story is called The Roommate. Through an accident of the housing market, I spent 6 months living with a pickup artist. While my housemate was an amateur player, his ever-present best mate was a professional who had even featured in Panorama's The Seduction Game. I know most people in London, where I live, through left-wing politics, and I had been lucky enough to not really encounter any PUA stuff when I was younger. Accidentally getting a front-row seat at the age of 25 was quite jarring. I mostly just found the worldview I saw incredibly depressing. I came to the conclusion that very little of any of this is about women. After all, why would you care much at all about the people who you believe are so easy to manipulate that they are basically automata, responsive to certain moves, to the game well played, and most of it about the regard of other men, about status competition. The PUAs were homophobic, but keen to go to gay clubs, as that was where straight women had their guard down, apparently. Very anti-lockdown and anti-mask. This was just as we were coming out of the pandemic, and keen to impress upon me that all my male friends were seeing prostitutes and lying about it, and that I should accept that all men were like this. I ended up reading quite a lot of PUA manuals to understand this compellingly bleak view of the world. I came to think that if you really live by this stuff, you basically need to view women as not being real people. And if that's what you think, all kinds of relationships, sincere friendships, good working dynamics, meaningful romance between men and women are basically impossible, and all situations are sexualized. It was not, unsurprisingly, a good living situation, and it broke down quite badly over ideological differences. Read committed sexism. Nonetheless, I became quite well versed in the texts, lingo, and intellectual journeys of the PUAs. Neil Strauss and Alex Jones were trying to write a book together in around 2018. In the UK, Ed West, author of How to Pull Women, reinvented himself as a trad and was deputy editor of the Catholic Herald. I really believe that a great many of today's worst idea sets around gender, including those aimed at women, come from precepts and ideas laid out by the PUA boom of the noughts. I also visited this obsession on those close to me, largely against their will. A few months ago, my boyfriend found himself backpedaling at a friend's house, having revealed a suspiciously extensive knowledge of the game. This is the downside, yeah. Quote, "I only know about this because of my PUA-obsessed girlfriend," was his defense, who is real. Yeah.
Such a good end to that story. So perfect.
You've been listening to a sample of Manclan, a 10-part series that is being published on QAA's premium podcast feed, which you can get access to for just $5 a month by going to patreon.com/QAnonAnonymous. You'll also get access to all of Travis View's first season of Trickle Down, as well as an extra episode of QAA for every regular one, and access to our entire archive of premium episodes.
Join the Manclan.